Good morning and welcome to episode 61 of the Jaguar Report podcast. My name is Gus Logue. I'm joined here by my co-host Clark Kent. Or wait, no, that's John Shipley. Oh, hair there. It looks good. There you go.
No. Why are we judging? Some of us are in need of a haircut.
I was just trying to give you a compliment. Joined by my co-host John Shipley. How's it going, John?
It's going good, my friend. How you doing? It's like we've been saying, man. I've been ready for the Jaguars to get back and for things to get back to normal for like 3 weeks, and finally things felt back at normal. But now, short week, so a little weird, but otherwise, doing good, man. Doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right. Trying to get used to this weather. I mean, it's dropped like 5 whole degrees, but it's getting a little chilly. Are you a cold weather guy or a warm weather guy?
Oh, I'm cold weather, man.
I'm definitely a warm weather guy. I'm getting like sad that it's like
oh god
outside. I'm like trying to spend as much time outside as possible now, trying to get these UV rays while I can.
But yeah.
It's getting to that point of the season, that point of the year, I guess. But things were back to normal in terms of the Jaguars' expectations because they kind of walloped on the Colts 37-20 in week 6. You and I both had them winning big, but like didn't really predict them winning quite as big as they did on Sunday because I think it was maybe not even as close of a game as 37-20 suggests.
Death, taxes, the Jaguars versus the Colts at home, and Gardner Minshew losing an important game in Jacksonville.
Ooh, I mean, how many important games did he play in Jacksonville? Like,
well, define important, but like
I was gonna say, was this like how important was this one even? Like, it was important for the Jaguars, for the Colts.
Well, I mean, so the Jaguars basically did a Dr. Frankenstein and killed the monster they created with Minshew. He will never be a starting quarterback again, other than a pinch starter after this game. So, in terms of that, I mean, big, but the Jaguars put the stakes to the heart of that one, but it's their fault it ever started. So it was only right that the Jaguars and Mike Caldwell were the ones to put Minshew Mania away for good.
True. It was a fun story, but the book is kind of closed now. That seemed like the last page of the final chapter.
The announcement in the first quarter was like, Minshew Mania is long forgotten. I'm like, no, it is not, dude. Shut up about it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully now we all can.
Yeah, it's like that office where Andy's giving off like facts about the sun to Gabe. It's like, shut up about the sun. Shut up about the sun. That's how I felt the entire last week about the Minshew stuff. But yeah, 37-20 win over the Colts. I mean, yeah, a convincing win. I mean, we can just start off with the offense. I felt like, so obviously some context is needed. The defense made things pretty easy for the offense in the first half in terms of, like field position. Josh Allen obviously set up Etienne's touchdown. They got the ball at the Colts 22. But, I mean, the first drive, 13 plays, 65 yards, touchdown drive. The other touchdown drive in the first half, that wasn't the Etienne run, 9 plays, 65 yards. Like, they put together, some good drives in the first half.
Right.
And obviously, like, the context, again, is needed for the fact that the defense made things easy. But it definitely felt like this was a game where, at least in the first half, it looked more like the Jaguars offense that maybe we thought we were, going to see earlier in the season. Like, just spreading the ball around, a lot of pocket movement with Trevor, a lot of middle of the field shots. And Trevor, at least to me, looked like he was more willing maybe this week than some past weeks to kind of take the check down. I mean, I thought if you're just looking at the first half, it was a really, really efficient, outing by Lawrence in the passing game. But it did kind of feel like a tale of like 2 halves. I mean, you look at their drive summaries in the second half. It went punt, field goal after a super short field. They did get that big touchdown, to Brendan Strange to cap off a 9-play, 51-yard drive. But the fourth quarter went interception, punt, field goal on a short field, kneel down. So, 2 punts in there, an interception in there. It felt like to me like the second half like wasn't cohesive or really like didn't really have a plan. It was basically just let's kill some clock, let's try to pad some of our passing stats, and
Yeah.
it didn't really have because it kind of felt like weirdly enough the Colts were expecting the pass. So I want to ask you, this is one of the first times this year we've seen the Jaguars play with a lead. Do they have the offense that can really play, with a lead? Because they didn't do well with it on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like ETN individually has done a pretty good job in the fourth quarter of like closing out games, especially as we saw in the Buffalo game with like those two big touchdown runs. But the offense in general, I mean, Calvin Ridley definitely had some big third downs in that second half against Buffalo too. But like we kind of mentioned how like the interior offensive line dictates a lot of like the short yardage situations and then like the end of game situations where like you kind of have to win physically between the trenches in order to just put the game away sometimes. And yeah, like you said, it was the first time that we really saw it this season. I guess the Falcons game too, but it seemed like the same thing that happened with the Falcons, where like the Jaguars did get away with the win, but it was like maybe a little bit closer than it should have been against Atlanta back in week 3. And it was like they weren't really able to like finish off with a dominant performance and like hang 40 plus on the Colts. They kind of just like certainly didn't limp to the finish line, but just made sure they got to the finish line. And that was pretty much it.
No, 100%. And I mean, they kind of limped to the finish line. Like the quarterback literally limped off the finish line. I mean,
fair.
We might as well get like that. That's last year. Trevor Lawrence had the most talked about toe in, Florida outside of, actually not even going to attempt to make a cancelable joke there. He had the most talked about toe after his Detroit Lions injury. Now, like for the next like 3 or 4 days, the knee is going to be like literally like that's the only thing anybody's going to talk about.
Right.
Like freaking Fourier got asked about Trevor's knee today, So, like, if you're in Jacksonville, you're going to be asked about his knee. Let me get your thoughts on this because it seems like it's a big debate. Obviously, I know fans have a right to feel anyway. Like, fan is literally short for fanatic. You wouldn't probably be a fan if you didn't see the franchise quarterback get hurt in that moment and not blame the team. So, so about 3 minutes left. It was third down. Jaguars, Doug has since said that, they wanted to really kind of try to get the quarterback, what the hell, get the quarterback on the edge, kind of, in the game right there, whether it's, whether even if he doesn't get the first down, maybe he can just basically take a short sack. It's already a short field goal. So they call it like a naked bootleg. I will say it is a common call, I feel like, for teams, like especially late in games, like trying to get, especially when teams are selling out to the middle is basically, fake maybe inside zone or outside zone and get the quarterback on the edge. Mm-hmm. They did run it.
He's like plenty of other teams have done this.
Yeah, like it's not like people are saying, why would you do that with the quarterback? And like this literally happens weekly. Like you see teams do this. Like it's the NFL. Like it's teams aren't. It's not college. Teams aren't putting in their like 6th-year sophomore quarterback to, kill a quarter. It's the NFL. Dudes are staying in the game.
Yeah.
But he obviously gets sacked, comes up, injures his knee. Adam Schefter called it a minor sprain. It's probably no idea where you even get specific with it. But basically a knee sprain. Doesn't seem like it's significant. And we'll talk about this on Wednesday when we talk about Saints and Jaguars. It obviously cast a question over his availability for Thursday. I mean, what do you think about the call and the situation? Because, Doug today basically, and I can pull up the exact quote, to me more or less was like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it was kind of Trevor's fault,
right.
Okay, so here it is. Doug got asked if, a day later, if he stands by the play call, and he said, and I quote, yeah, it's part on us, part on the players. We put players in situations where we have to understand the situation. We had talked about taking the short sack in a situation like that. If you don't feel like you can get outside, go down. Part of that is on the player, and part of that is we can coach better and emphasize that more. The play call, I'm 100% behind the play call. It's something that a lot of teams do in situations like that to get the quarterback on the edge. Defensively, they're pinching gaps and their edge pressures, and it's a good way of getting your quarterback on the perimeter to get the first down and ice the game at that point. as coaches too, we can instruct our quarterback better, coach him better, and understand that if you can't get outside, just go down. So he's more or less saying, I like the call. And we literally told him before the play to just take a sack if it's not there. And like, if you take off your teal colored glasses, go back and watch the play. He could have easily just fell down. You know,
Right.
he clearly tried to make something happen.
He kind of tripped a little bit, and like that almost screwed him because I don't think like the tripping himself was like where he got injured. It was the tackle, but like
Yeah,
I think he probably thought that he could have like gone away from the pressure if he like hadn't tripped, and then he did trip though, and so he still tried to get away from it but couldn't, and ended up getting injured. Uh, so I would put like 100% of the blame on Trevor. Honestly, like I think like it was a fine play call, especially if like Peterson, like you said, like emphasized already that like taking a short sack is okay there. Like I don't really have any qualms with like anything that Peterson or the coaches did.
yeah.
I think like it's kind of on Trevor to go down there, and like him going down there is like you can't get too mad about it because like he's a superstar quarterback, and like superstars kind of like have to break rules in order to like make the crazy plays that they do. But like that's just like not the situation to break a rules when you're like up 14 points with 3 minutes left in the game at home. It's like Doug said to him for a reason that like taking a short sack was okay. So
Yeah.
it was on him.
And like I said, like this is a play call you see pretty frequently in the NFL. I'm with you. Like if I had to like put blame, if that's like what we're doing, I would say it's probably like on the quarterback because I don't know, man. If I'm an NFL coach in my head, I'm saying, oh, the quarterback will just go down if it's not there. Like the thing that makes Trevor probably special, outside of obviously insane arm talent, athleticism, but one of the things probably sets him apart is he plays every single play like if we don't get this first down, we lose the game.
Yeah.
Regardless of the game situation. And that's what it felt like on this play. Like he was not acting like a quarterback up 14 he was like acting like if I don't get this first down, we're gonna lose.
He honestly has a little bit of like Buffalo's Josh Allen in him, where like you see a little bit more reckless from Josh Allen because like he has a little bit more of a body type to like I guess get away with it because he'll just like run over guys, and Trevor Lawrence like can't really do that even if he tried. But like they kind of play with like the same desperation of like I have to get this first down because my life depends on it.
Yeah, I mean there was a play earlier in the game, you know which one I'm talking about, where it was like he was wrapped up for he was wrapped up for a sack, and he just threw it up, and it was almost picked. To me, that's literally
that was insane. Yeah,
to me, that's literally the same play.
Yeah,
like it sums up, in my opinion, like Trevor, great quarterback, but like if there's one maybe flaw with him, it's that he just doesn't let any play die. But you also you don't want to coach that out of him because that's how he makes some plays happen.
You can't coach it out of him too much, and I think they coached it into him a little bit. Like you said earlier, like he was checking down a little bit more, and like I was thinking, I think he was under a little bit pressure this game as opposed to just like most of the season, and probably part of that is because he was like checking down a little bit more, just sort of taking what the defense was giving him as opposed to just like hunting for big plays, which he doesn't necessarily do like all the time, but like he would probably like to.
I really think that once Travis scored and it was 14-3, that they thought the game was over and they didn't need to do anything else. Like, did it not seem like that?
Yeah, like they definitely like play well on offense in the first half, but also like the way the defense was playing, especially after that first stinking dunk drive by the Colts, like it was like we can like get negative yards and still like win these. I feel like was probably what the offense was thinking.
But the way to combat those dink and dunk offenses is to score quickly and to basically, force them out of it and force them to, really not take up these long drives that, take up half the quarter and you only get 3 points out of them. And once the Jaguars went up 14-3, at least that's the way I looked at it, is they were like, okay, Gardner's not going to beat us. We don't really have to throw the whole kitchen sink to get out of this with a win. So I'm okay. What are your thoughts then on the idea? So it's 3rd and 7, mind you. About 3 minutes left. Say you just run the ball up the middle of the ETN. Probably don't get anything. So say you don't get that. I mean, is there an argument against like just running it instead and settling for the field goal attempt? Because I guess in their mind, they're like, okay, anything can go wrong. If we run it, maybe he fumbles it. If we kick it, maybe they miss it. And like they don't have a big chance to win, but I think they still have like a 99% probability to win there. Like, I don't know. Like on one hand, I agree with them that, okay, Trevor more or less like his never say die got himself hurt. On the other hand, was it maybe a bit galaxy brain? Like you could still ice the like they did still ice the game without getting the first down.
Yeah, I almost feel like they were just like trying to go home too quickly. Because like if they had kicked the field goal, it would be a 17-point game, which is 3 possessions. And like at that point with 3 minutes left, it's a wrap. And like you just kind of have to stick around for like some like onside kick shenanigans from the Colts, maybe. But then like so that possibility exists, but you also know that like if you're going to run the ball, you're probably going to have to kick it, just because like that's what the Colts are expecting. So like that was just like their way, I think, of like
trying to avoid the field goal,
like just like trying to like avoid the Colts getting the ball back at all. Like I think they just want to get it first down.
Which fair,
like,
fair.
Go home.
Yeah, so I think you can definitely kind of question the play call a little bit. Like I get it, I do get questioned it to an extent. Because, like, in reality, it wasn't a successful play, and they still did end up icing the game. So it didn't bother them that they didn't get the first down. But on the other hand, I'm also at the school of, like, just take the sack. Like that's the biggest thing I think Trevor has to work on is the situational, like, stuff, knowing when it's okay to basically eat a play.
Yeah, and I think that'll be, like, hopefully a somewhat easy lesson for him to learn, or at least easier than usual, because, like, taking what the defense is giving you and like not always having your superhero cape on is like a lot easier said than done when you're playing on a team with like a terrible defense like his rookie year, and like you kind of have to play superhero ball in order to like have a chance to win games. But now the Jaguars have objectively a top 10 defense by like pretty much any advanced metric, and so like we saw against the Colts, I mean the Jags are going to be playing Gardner Minshew every week, but the defense is definitely going to allow Trevor Lawrence in the offense like a little bit more flexibility in terms of like not having to go for more hero shots.
Oh, 100%. So to me, there wasn't much more to talk about the offense of this game. Like I said, it just felt like they were kind of like once they went up at 14-3, but even after Kirk's touchdown, they would kind of just shrug their shoulders and said, let's pad the stats a little bit and get the heck out of here. I will say, though, are you ready for this week's Bulky Bowl?
Okay, yeah.
All right, you ready to get masterclass?
Yeah.
The first touchdown of a young Brenton Strange's career came Sunday, and he now has more touchdowns than the following players combined. All right. Odell Beckham Jr., Rashad Bateman.
All right.
Evan Ingram, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, Mike Gesicki, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, Jerry Jeudy, Quentin Johnston, Elijah Moore, Michael Thomas, and of course Dalton Kincaid. That goes without saying.
Are any of those players? How many of those players are like good right now, like this week at football?
Most of the list. I'd say about 70% of the list. 70. Would you take any of them? Would you take any of them over Brenton Strange's impact this year?
I don't know, man. What's the question? Like, who would I rather have? Anyone on that list?
You can have any of those players, or you can be first place in the AFC South, thanks to his touchdown helping spear a blowout victory. He also set up the first touchdown, so he basically put them in first place in the AFC South. So any of those players are first place in the AFC South after 6 weeks.
I would take a DeAndre Hopkins or a Chris Godwin.
So we're being first place in the AFC South?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You have your prerogative.
3-3, and then I have another receiver.
You have your prerogative. I have mine.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. Well, when we get friend of the show, Pete Prisco, on here, we'll see all about Balky Ball. Dude, I love doing the bit on Twitter, and like the people who aren't yet listening to the show thinking it's like completely like genuine, like Pete.
Right.
No.
Yeah, that was awesome.
What did he say? He said, I said, because he said Anton's playing better than Juwan. Anton, by the way, is 0 pressures on Sunday. I thought he was dominant in the running game. I thought it was his best game as a pro. He was really good. Pete Prisco said Anton's playing better than Jawan. So I brought up to you one of the original bulky balls. Would you rather have Jawan and a first-round pick or Anton cap space and a third-round pick? And Pete said he would use the third-round pick on a linebacker. Bulky ball.
My guy. No, Pete's my guy.
Pete's awesome. Pete's awesome. All right. Well,
wasn't something else you said to me, I think earlier today, was hasn't Brenton Strange scored more combined touchdowns than like every other?
Yeah. So
Luke Musgrave, Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah. So to show you that it's catching on, I got a text from a listener and a friend who said my submission for Gus getting bulky masterclass this week. With Brenton Strange's touchdown, he has more touchdowns this season than Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Washington, Luke Musgrave, and Tucker Kraft combined.
Second best rookie tight end behind Sam Laporta. That's
arguably first. he blocks. Okay, he's not a glorified slot receiver. All right, you have your prerogatives. I have mine. Let's agree on that.
I got one more take to get out there before we move on.
Let's hear it.
I agree with you that like they didn't throw the kitchen sink out on Sunday, like in terms of like their offensive scheme. But one thing I did notice is like the use of pullers for the offensive line. I think that's like one of the big ways that like the health and like having all 5 starters that you want is going to be big. Because like Cam Robinson, like on Dearness Johnson's nice little run on the left side, Cam Robinson pulled like outside of a tackle and had a really nice block in space. So like he's been like really good in his return so far in terms of like kind of adding a physical element that the Jags want in the run game. But he is like a pretty good puller out in space. And then Luke Fortner had a pretty good game after you said it was going to be a big week for him. On the ETN Wildcat touchdown, he like had a crazy like sprint out block into space. I don't even know if it was like technically a pull because he didn't go like behind any.
Yeah, I think he was just getting like straight up like there like he didn't have anybody shading him or anything, so he basically had a pre-release to the second level, and he more or less went to the third level.
Yeah, but I mean, he threw a nice block to kind of like finish off the play and help ETN get into the end zone. So like, we're kind of seeing like as the offensive line is getting a little bit healthier, like even though the interior is what's like shaky. Like with the offensive line getting back to full health, like they're seeing more success on outside runs. So I feel like I said it on like the last episode too, but I'm just really excited to see like what the offense looks like by the time like we get to December or January with hopefully everyone kind of healthy and in the lineup where they want them to be.
For the record, I thought Chatley had a solid game.
Really solid game, yeah.
People kill him for that third down, the first Buckner sack. That was 100% Trevor. That was 1,000,000%. So I thought I thought the offensive line in general had a good game. So I'm with you. Like seeing the offensive line as it gets back to full health will be interesting. Hat tip to Blake Hance. He played left tackle in a pinch last week and then right guard this week. Like dude's literally playing everywhere. It was also interesting to me that when Sheriff went down, like it wasn't Ben Barch that went up there. It was Hance. So it kind of just maybe shows you where the dominoes are falling on the line for right now. Gus, you got anything else for the offense for us?
My last note is that Travis Etienne leads the league in rushing attempts. I would not have thought that before this season.
Doug Peterson loves him some run-pass ratio questions.
So Etienne the workhorse. He's impressive.
I will say, like his like contact balance and like strength this year, like it's always been good, but like dudes are bouncing off him this year. Like he does not run at all like he looks. If that makes sense.
That's like I feel like was like maybe his biggest draw coming out of college is that like obviously his straightaway speed is like awesome and bonkers, and he's like one of the few like angle erasers in the NFL. But like his contact balance is like I feel like that's why he was compared to Alvin Kamara so much coming out of college. Is like his usage in the pass game was probably got a little bit overrated, just because like he's like using like swings and screens and that type of stuff. But his contact balance out in open space is just incredible. But even now that he's in the league and kind of getting more used to like NFL kind of like gaps and schemes and run fits and kind of like understanding it all, he's been really impressive inside the tackles too.
For sure. And he's getting involved in the passing game more. Last year, he averaged 2.65 targets a game. This year, he's averaging 4 targets a game. So it definitely seems like they're putting more on his plate.
Yeah, they're just using him more in general, I feel like.
Would you believe this week was the most Tank Bigsby's played all year?
No, probably not. Just because I mean, Etienne didn't have a big yardage production, but he had a big week, so I would not guess that.
Yeah, no, it was the most based both in terms of snaps and snap percentage, and it still felt like he didn't play.
Yeah, how many touches did you get?
4.
4?
Yeah.
I was going to guess 1.
There you go. All right. On that note, we're going to break. We'll be right back for the defense. All right, Gus. Let me get my dancing shoes on.
Yeah, bring him out.
We got a grave to tap over, buddy. Mike Caldwell took a straight up club, like a caveman club, and just bonked Gardner Minshew over the head with it for 60 minutes, dude. Just every drop back bonk. In my opinion, and I'm not saying this hyperbolically, one of the most disrespectful game plans I've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head,
they
think of anything else.
They were not worried about that Gardner Minshew at all, dude.
No, it was. Go ahead.
You could definitely feel people getting angsty when he started 9-9, right? I didn't even have to look at Twitter to gauge, to check the temperature in the pool. I knew people were oh shit, here we go, but the Jags even said after the game, oh yeah, we're perfectly fine with them doing that. They can dink and dunk all they want. They're not going to win like that. Right. I think Smithko said that, and I think Josh Allen said that too, and they proved it, dude. They were literally – so the Jaguars basically never, play with heavy boxes the way that they did on Sunday. They have one of the highest light box percentages in the entire NFL, and that's because they play with a lot of, down linemen basically. They already feel like they have so many guys who can play their run hard enough that they don't need to stack the box. But I believe it was – Stephen Holder with ESPN tweeted out the Colts were in 10 personnel, 1 running back in the backfield, 4 wide, and the Jaguars put 4 defensive backs on the 4 of them, backed them up to the first down marker like it's Pee Wee football, and then had everybody else in the box. It literally looked like a defense I would see on Saturdays, and they were not threatened by Gardner Minshew at all. And I thought, in a world of Brandon Staley's, who doesn't want to play against the run, Mike Caldwell deserves his credit because that dude, you've said it all year on this podcast, he is selling out for the run, and it has made them a hell of a defense for it.
I thought Foye had a pretty cool quote today about because someone asked something similar about the early downs and run defense. Oh, that's you. Well, credit to you for setting up the answer, but Foye, his answer, he specifically said first downs is kind of the tone setter. Because first and second down and longs are pretty huge because you're mostly worried about third down. So I would say third down is the most important down, but he said first just because it sets the tone for the rest of the downs. He has a pretty good point. Man, they're just suffocating on defense, especially this past week against the quarterback that they faced. Gardner Minshew had average depth of target of 1.7 yards on that opening drive. So it's he wasn't even dinking and dunking. It was just checking down, honestly.
Extended handoffs.
Yeah, it was check downs and screens. It was there's a crazy amount of passes that went 0 yards. As you said, it was an extension of the run game. So yeah, even though it might have caused a little bit of worry for some Jaguars fans after the first drive, as you said, the Jaguars were not worried at all.
Yeah, no, and I think you made a great point about 4A. It's everybody in the NFL sees third down as the money down. I feel like the Jaguars are one of the only defenses in the NFL. They see, like you said, first down and to a lesser extent, second down as their money downs, where they want those are downs they want to win, and then they'll worry about third down when it comes. And I think that showed up perfectly against this team because the Colts have been running the ball well. I mean, Zach Moss is getting like 100 yard games. Bro. I'm sorry. I wasn't born yesterday. I remember Zach Moss in Buffalo. He was one of the worst running backs in the NFL.
Yeah.
So Colts obviously had a good running game coming in. I think Minshew not adding anything to the running game obviously played a part in it. Like, you don't see that game plan against Anthony Richardson, ever.
No.
But I thought that basically Caldwell came in with the perfect strategy. They executed it, and man, they could have had 5 picks. They only had 3. They could have had 5. Rayshawn had 1 negated by Trayvon being offsides, but I believe they ended up picking off Minshew on the drive anyways. I want to say
they could have had like 7 interceptions.
Devin Lloyd dropped 2, but he had 9 fingers, so it doesn't work out.
Devin Lloyd dropped 2. Rayshawn had 1 that was called back from the Trayvon offside. I think Fourier dropped 1 pretty late.
I think he did too. Yeah,
that's 4 like non-interceptions plus the 3 that he actually threw.
What?
It was 3, right? There was Cisco, Rayshawn, and Harris.
Was that the worst quarterback they're going to see this year?
Yes,
I think so. He was worse than Ritter.
He had like 3 interceptions, 4 other possible interceptions, plus the strip sack on like the second or third drive or whenever that was. Like,
so they play
crazy amount of turnover-worthy plays in just the first half alone.
So, just in terms of quarterback, they're going to play a banged up Derek Carr. Going to play Kenny Pickett. Brock Purdy, talent-wise, belongs to the conversation, but I won't even dip my toe in that pool. We'll see how hurt Tannehill is. I mean, maybe Malik Willis, but that's like a month away. Who knows who starts for the Browns any given week? And then you have Bryce Young later in the year. I think Minshew's worse than all of those.
Wow. Yeah, I agree, but like that's a pretty good-looking slate for the Jags defense. I mean, they're going to have Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson later, but like
a good quarterback in Joe Burrow, yeah.
And
they get CJ Stroud again, and that's about it.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like the good quarterbacks they face are Kyle Shanahan, CJ Stroud, and Lamar, and then you can put Burrow and Watson in that maybe category. You didn't like the Kyle Shanahan?
Watson. Burrow, like I'm fine with keeping him in it. He's even like despite the calf. We'll see when we get there, I guess. But yeah, like that seems like a pretty nice slate for the Jags defense going forward. But in terms of like what they just faced, like yeah, that's going to be as easy as it takes. But the Jaguars defense do get a ton of credit for like forcing those mistakes.
Like 2 of the interceptions were insane. I'm sorry, man. I like Rayshawn's pick. I don't even know how to like describe it. Like there wasn't really pressure, and he just throws a duck like 10 yards past his target. And then the Darius Williams pick, I thought kind of summed up like his flaws as a quarterback. He's throwing off his back foot because of pressure. And if you had an NFL arm, maybe you can do that. But it literally just floated in the Darius. So it was brutal. I think Mike Caldwell has them playing inspired, football defensively. And like it's not just obviously, like they're talented, like they've invested in it. I think that they've had one of the best secondaries in the NFL this year, and well, like 4 of the guys in the secondary, either high paid or highly drafted. So you would hope that they're doing pretty good. But I just think their approach to the game has spurred a lot of this, and in my opinion, the takeovers are happening because of their strategy, which is win on first and second down, and then try to cause some kind of havoc on third down, whether it's with a pressure look or whatever. And then you have on top of that Josh Allen playing at a crazy rate. So Next Gen had Josh Allen with 9 pressures and PFF had him with 4. Kind of a wild discrepancy. Like Next Gen had him with the most pressures among edges entering the late slate yesterday, and PFF has him with 18th among edges right now. So I don't know. But just in terms of like how they're developing. So like it was a solid game for Trayvon. 5 pressures per PFF. One of his highest win rates of the season. So he went from 44th in pressures and 60th in win rate last week to now he's 34th in pressures and 44th in win rate. So still like not great. I think that 2 pressures between weeks 2 and 3 obviously hurt him, but He has 9 pressures over the last 2 weeks after 8 through the first month of the season. All right, do you think the light bulb is coming on a little bit, or is this still mostly a Josh Allen show to you?
This is still a Josh Allen show to me. I didn't really like watch Trayvon super closely, honestly, on Sunday. So like I might like go back and watch it and be convinced otherwise that like a light has been switched. But just based on like watching the game live on Sunday, there wasn't really anything that made me think that. Like Josh Allen is, I think, third in sacks right now and tied for second in forced fumbles. And like, I mean, he's like a legit defensive player of the year candidate right now, I think. Uh, like,
That's
well,
a good point.
I mean, maybe like not like up there with this in the same class as like a TJ Watt or a Miles Garrett, but like he should have like at least be like, I'm gonna mention him right now. Like he's definitely up there in terms of stats. Like this Jags defense seems legit. The Jags are a playoff team in general. Like especially if they add an edge rusher to like hopefully like balloon everyone's sack numbers and like pressure production, then like I don't know. It's in the range of outcomes, I think. But yeah, I think it's still a one man show. Like he's been the best player on the defense,
For sure.
easily.
And like I think if they continue on the trajectory that they're on, and like the defense continues, like they're leading the NFL in takeaways right now. Maybe that's not obviously it's not sustainable. Takeaways aren't sustainable, but if the defense keeps performing and keeps getting attention, I agree. I think he could definitely have a case to make for defensive player of the year because he's already matched the sack total from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do what he's doing against the pass and run, and do it on a good defense and good team in general, you get noticed.
Right. Yeah, like if the Jaguars end up like get like winning a couple of in a row in like the middle of the season, like beat the Niners and or the Ravens and or the Bengals, like eventually they should be able to start like gaining some national attention, and then like it'll be like, oh, who are the players that are like kind of like leading the charge for this breakout contender in the Jaguars? And Josh Allen is definitely like the first name on the defense. But shout out to Darius Williams because I feel like he would be like one of the last names. And like, but like he's shown that like teams can't really attack him, and teams have been trying the past 2 weeks. Like he had 13 targets against him against the Bills, which was like the most targets against him as a Jaguar. But then he had that huge interception against Stephon Diggs, and then one other really big play in the second half. And then this past week, like we saw the play that you talked about, like Minshew was kind of like just throwing up a jump ball and like kind of just testing like on paper good matchup for the Colts, but Darius Williams like was able to shut down that pass with a interception, his third in 3 straight games. And so like I think as good as Josh Allen has been, like it's almost as valuable that like players like Darius Williams have been holding up really well, because like a defense as a unit is like only as good as its weakest link. Sorry. So
No,
the fact that like all their weak links are holding up right now is kind of like helping the fact that they don't have another star pass rusher.
no, absolutely, and I would, agree with that, wholly, and I definitely think like the secondary being a cohesive unit, like their second like season, all like basically like they have like 20 games on their belt where it's the 5 of them together. I'm with you. I mean, just for some context on the season Josh Allen's having, a year ago in 17 games, he had 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 22 quarterback hits, and 4 forced fumbles. Right now, he has 7 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 11 quarterback hits, and 2 forced fumbles. My bad. He had 22 quarterback hits last year. So he's on pace like to smash everything he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a top 10 to 15 edge last year. So
Yeah.
here's my question for you. Would you give him the Alex Highsmith contract? It was like 4 years, $68 million, almost $30 million guaranteed.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? Anything like under 20 million, I feel like is a steal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that in a heartbeat.
Would you make him the Jaguars' first $100 million man? I might be off. Maybe there's another guy that they've paid that way. Yeah, now we're putting your feet to the fire.
I mean, then it's like obviously depends on. Ooh, are you saying like 4 years, 100 million?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look up some contracts and see like
Yeah, no. Takesmanship does not have data and evidence. No, come on. Give me some gumption.
yeah, I feel like 80 to 100 million is probably like a pretty good range. Like I would give him $100 million contract. That's probably like closer to the top of like
Yeah.
what you would want to like just shell out for any player just in terms of like resource allocation. But like again, you should be making $20 million per year annually. Per year annually.
I'm with you.
Floor level.
So the last thing I wanted to say about the defense on my end, Gus, was so it's been extremely impressive, but I think what's even more impressive is they're not just beating up on bad quarterbacks like Minshew and Ritter. Like they played good quarterbacks this year. You know, Anthony Richardson, I'm sorry, is like I know he's young and inexperienced. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. Like he's nowhere near Minshew. You know, like obviously, I think he's probably about like the current version of Richardson is probably about like what you would think like an average like starter would be, maybe a little bit above that because of his mobility. They kept Patrick Mahomes in check. They kept Josh Allen mostly in check outside of a few yellow balls.
Mm-hmm.
I think the defense has legit proven itself. Like I don't think it's like a flash in the pan thing. I think maybe at the Chiefs game, maybe you can say that. Maybe at the Falcons game, I don't know. It's Desmond Ritter. Right now, I think you can say like it's legit.
Yeah, I think like the defense passed like two huge tests that you look for in a good unit in each of the past 2 weeks. Against the Bills, like they played really well against an elite offense with an elite quarterback and with an elite wide receiver. And they didn't like completely shut them down. As you said, Allen ended up having a couple yellow balls, but they still like held their own against a top flight offense and kind of like passed that test of just playing good competition. But then also like the other test is playing bad competition and like not playing down to poor offenses level and like being able to take advantage of the mismatches and like kind of be able to show that like you are a lot better than the opposing unit. So
Yeah.
like back-to-back pass tests for the Jaguars defense.
The one potential flaw I think with the defense is obviously the depth. You can say that for anywhere, but the cornerback depth specifically, because once Tyson went out, Monteric Brown went in, got hit for like 2 different 40-yard gains. They only dressed 4 corners for the game in general yesterday because Claybrooks isn't playing on the commissioner exempt list, whatever the list is called. Gregory Jr. is on IR. Christian Braswell's on IR. They don't even really have bodies right now. You know, like they have Eric Hallett and Tavon Campbell who are on the practice squad, but that to me would be the one maybe concerning thing is like you need the corners to all stay healthy.
Totally. And like, oof, hamstring could be tough. Like, I don't know. That can be like a scary injury where it just like kind of lingers around for more than you would hope. So hopefully Tyson Campbell will get right soon because like I mean I just talked about like the weak link of the defense with Darius Williams, and as soon as Tyson Campbell went out, like you saw that weak link kind of like break a little bit with Monteric Brown in the game. So that'll like be like a huge thing to look for on Thursday. Like obviously the Trevor Lawrence injury takes precedence, but like Tyson Campbell being out for the game, he's officially out, right? Or is he?
Doug said he probably wasn't going to play.
Okay, so unofficially, but probably out. Like Darius Williams all of a sudden being the number 1 corner, and then Monteric Brown / whoever being the number 2 corner against Chris Olave and Michael Thomas could spell trouble. And like neither of those 2 receivers are like it's not like they're playing AJ Brown and Devontae Smith or Tyreek and Waddle or anything like that. But like it's a pair of solid receivers for sure. So yeah,
it was strange to see people just now discovered Tyson Campbell plays special teams, and on your coverage teams you have people who tackle. He played 16% of the special team snaps last year. He's played 17 this year. It's not a new thing. Like how many players are active on game day? Like 47.
Yeah, I don't know.
You only have like it's not college football, man. Like you only have so many plays. Like, people got to play special teams, dog.
I remember like Gronk had a pretty serious injury on a special teams. Like it was like an extra point attempt and he had to like get season-ending surgery for a play that happened on special teams. I remember Belichick getting roasted for it, but it's like that's just like kind of how it works. Like
Yeah,
because he's like even in Gronk's case, like a future Hall of Fame player, it's like it's not like he's just not going to play special teams.
exactly. Like, I, I get it to an extent. Like, protect every good player, but like on the other hand, it is football. Like at the end of the day, sometimes guys are just gonna, kind of get hurt. Like it happens. So
Well,
you
I got one last night. It was just a note that Smoot played 32 snaps, which was a lot more than I expected. Just to go along with that line you were delivering of like it's football they're gonna play. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't really know what he did on those snaps. I don't have like his PFF stats pulled up or anything. I didn't really. He had actually like one really big play early on in the game on like a 3rd and 1 that he stopped with like Ledbetter maybe or someone
yeah.
else or maybe Blackson. Yeah. So just I thought it was somewhat notable that he played 32 snaps as opposed to like the 15 that I was expecting.
100%. And speaking of Blackson, your NFL leader in fumble recoveries with TJ Watt, man. The the underrated piece to
This
their
year's
turnovers.
Corey Peters.
And like for reference on Smoot, so he played 41% of snaps. He played 44% of their snaps last year. So like it was more or less like the role he's always, he's always played. And
Yeah.
it made clear that it will be Yasu Abdullah snaps that will now evaporate, not Chase Ons. And Chase on the sack. So like when I tweeted, I wasn't trying to dunk on it at all. I was just like, oh, here's a little factoid, but it's the first season he ever has multiple sacks in. So career year.
Yeah, there you go. I thought it
Yeah.
was interesting. Like that play was like the only time that Minshew really got into like a true like Minshew-esque scramble drill. It felt like. I
There
wonder.
was one other, and Trayvon Walker hit the hell out of it.
Are you talking about like the stunt where he went inside with Roy?
No,
Was
it was
different
like
one?
it was literally the play before it. Like
Mm,
seriously, like on one play, Minshew scrambled around. Like Trayvon didn't get so it was one of those plays where he gets a quarterback hit without getting really a win because
right.
there's kind of Minshew scrambling around and Trayvon was in his rush lane and sees him and just
Yeah.
popped the hell out of him. And then I think it was because I saw on my phone like a text like, oh, Trayvon with the quarterback hit, and then the very next play, Trayvon did the stunt, got the sack. Yeah, we talked about it, man. It's good showing for Trayvon in the context of what we've seen from Trayvon.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was also like part of the reason Minshew was like just so errant with his passes is that like he was just like too scared to even like scramble a little bit, let alone
Yeah.
like just stay in there.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, all right, Gus, we're gonna break one more time and come back for our game bowls.
All right.
All right, Gus, we'll let you go ahead and kick us off. Before we start, you have any more hot takes? Hot takes from the week?
Well, I have one written down, but it's about the Saints game, so I'll save that.
Say that.
Oh man, I thought I had another one. Maybe it'll come back to me later. But my game balls are offense, Bretton Strange, first career touchdown, more than any other rookie tight end not named Sam Laporta.
No. Let me stop you right here, my friend. Bulky ball is the segment to be ridiculous. Game ball, it's sanctified.
Okay, it's a rookie getting his first career NFL touchdown. Like
He's not actually getting the game ball. We're not actually like the team giving him the game ball. It doesn't have to be sentimental.
okay, so if anything, that should be like I'm the one giving the game ball, so I can do whatever I want with it. My biggest thing is that we could give it to like Trevor or Travis every single week, but like obviously that's not going to be fun. So I'm trying to switch it up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm trying to give it to the rookie. I thought that like he deserved it like just for the first career touchdown. That was cool. But then
That's cute.
also I thought the Jaguars' like play calling was pretty good this game, but especially pretty good in the first half, I guess. But especially in the high red zone where they had a lot of like 20 to 30-yard touchdowns or big plays. And so like Strange had his touchdown from the 10-yard line, and like not that he really did anything on it, but I don't know, like it was out of 12 personnel and Trevor like kind of got to his last read. So just like that, and then was it the screen that he took to set up the ETN 1-yard touchdown in the first quarter? He had some kind of like
Yeah. Well, I thought he was going to score on it, honestly.
yeah, right. So I just thought those 2 plays were neat, and so he gets my offensive game ball.
They were neat. Yeah, no, I'm like, it was funny because neither play was really a like tight end play. Like on one of them, like he was like the backside of the route, and like it was just a nice design. They didn't really pick him up. And on the screen, it was like legit just a tight end screen. But it was interesting. Earlier in the week, Press Taylor was like, "Yeah, he's actually a really good yak guy. We just really haven't got him going." And then you saw it there. Like his explosion is really good. You know,
Yeah.
he got down there in a hurry. So I'm okay. My offensive game ball, Dearness Johnson. You know, for his 1 carry. You know, is that okay? I thought you were about to give it to Press Taylor when you were talking about the offense. Like, you're gonna give them the game ball when fans are thinking they killed the quarterback. It would have been a good bit.
Yeah.
My offensive game ball, I'm gonna go Evan Ingram. I know 5.9 yards a catch, 41 yards and 7 catches, but the sickest catch a Jaguars player has made this year. And I don't know. I basically, if we're giving out game balls based on vibes, that's my vibe game ball of the week for offense.
Best Jaguars catch since Keelan Cole's sideline one-hander against the Patriots in like 2018.
I think so, man. And
it wasn't like the clutchest, but it might have been the best.
It's so funny when these catches happen in the middle of drives because they can't even really like soak it in. It's like, all right, next play.
No, it's hilarious because like on like 2 plays later, he hurdled a guy, and like so that got the crowd fired up, and like it was a good hurdle where like he actually cleared the guy and like kind of like got another step or 2 in. It's not like he just jumped and then fell down, but like that hurdle was on a 3rd and 6, and he picked up 5 yards, so they punted on the next play.
Good football player. All right. Defensive game ball. I'll start. I'm going to go. No, yeah, I'm starting so I get in front of you. Mike Caldwell.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Take that. I didn't even know. I'm assuming that's what you're going to do, right?
No, I had a player in mind.
Okay. No, Mike Caldwell gets the JaguarReport game ball. Hope he puts it in there with his locker. Future Lombardi for whatever defense in the future he head coaches and fixes. Mike Caldwell has been in his bag. So, all right, Gus, you're next.
He's been incredible. Mine is Foye Oluokun just because he had a career-high 15 tackles. He currently ranks 3rd in the NFL in tackles, so he's going for that 3-peat in the tackle leader department. He had 10 targets and 8 receptions allowed according to PFF, but those passes only went for 32 yards. So, like, again, it was just like dink and dunk stuff. So it's like he don't even blame him for like the 10 targets because like he was just happened to be the closest defender, but like he wasn't allowing anything underneath in like the run or the pass. And like I feel like the Jaguars have like 3 pillars of defense, like player wise, like on the front end and middle wise between Josh Allen, Tyson Campbell, and Foye Oluokun. So we already talked a decent amount about Josh Allen and Tyson Campbell and like how important they are, but Foye Oluokun is like right there with them.
I'll give you that. I think that's fair. All right. Special team.
That's fair. Okay.
I do think it's fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Would you put him like not on not as the same pillar height as Allen and Tyson?
Put him right below it. Right below it. I feel like he sets a new career high in tackles every week.
The Jags PR just like saying like, oh, this is like the 10th game in a row that he's recorded like double-digit tackles. It's like with tackles, BS stats you can come up with. I feel like
I'm not trying to minimize him or his impact. I just feel like I don't know. Like if I'm a defensive coordinator or if I'm a GM and I want to pluck players from the Jaguars defense, those are the guys I'd take first. But I guess in the ecosystem that is the Jaguars defense, maybe yeah.
It's just how like you and I both know that like Mike Caldwell has like such a big influence like behind the scenes of like the success of the defense. Like Foye is still like arguably the biggest leader and like has plenty of impact himself. Like they have two second-year linebackers who have like both been like pretty good this year. maybe good is strong, but they haven't been bad this year, and I feel like you could attribute some of that to Foye. So just a little Foye shout out.
All right, that's fair. Special teams. I'm going. Yeah.
I always just do an offensive and defense.
No. It is a no. Until they eliminate special teams, we are giving out special teams game balls. It is
Okay.
third unit. If you win 2 to 3 phases, you win, as probably somebody once said. So,
Right, who's your special teams game ball? Didn't mean to
Brendan McManus, man, 13 points. I mean, he had a 48-yard field goal, a 49-yard field goal, and a 51-yard field. Other than the Houston game, dude's been automatic. Like he's been everything I think they could have hoped for outside of one game where everything went wrong for the entire team. So I'm going McManus, and since you're biased against special teams, Heath Farwell's unit, who poured up blood, sweat, and tears into the game. You don't have to give us one. Do you have a game ball?
My game ball is Jamal Agnew, because I feel like he's like, me and Mia were talking about this a little bit, or at least I just like felt almost a little bit bad for him, because like he's been talked about more in like a wide receiver role and like an offensive role that like he might not be totally suitable for, but like you got to remember like the main reason he was like brought in, the main reason he's like good at the game, which is like his special teams value. And so he hadn't really had a big return in a couple of weeks, partly because he missed a game or two. But it was nice to see him get like that 53-yard return in the second half against the Colts.
Yeah. He only matters if he touches the ball. Typical Gus. I get it. So just real quick, Agnew, Tim Jones, and Elijah Cooks combined for 43 snaps, 0 targets. It seemed like the Jaguars' plan to replace Zay this week was to literally just not use a third receiver.
No, honestly, that's a good point. Like, because I said like I would expect Elijah Cooks to at least get 1 target, and that's because I thought they were going to continue doing what they were doing. It was just like have Agnew or just like whoever is that next man up, just like step into Zay's role. So like maybe I'll look back and see how much 12 personnel they ran, especially with like a positive game script. But they definitely were not relying on wide receiver 3 a lot on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Strange played 53% of snaps, and Farrell played 45%. So they were on their prayer. I want to say it was season highs for both, at least for Strange. It was the first time Strange has outsnapped Farrell.
Oh yeah, I was about to ask that.
Yeah, it was. Snap count talk. That's what people gets people.
I looked up. Did you post your article yet? I like a few minutes before this. Maybe it was earlier then.
I've done like 4 different versions of Trevor's knee is sprained, so it probably got lost in the shuffle. But all right, just a little housekeeping. We will be back on Wednesday this week, since it hit Gus and I at about 2:00 this afternoon that they play on Thursday. So we'll be back on Wednesday to preview the Saints, not the Colts. Saints. Gus, you got anything else for us before we go?
No. Looking forward to this weekend.
I do want to say, I checked. The Patriots now have 72 points, and we now have 61 episodes. So another shutout, and we're climbing.
Yeah, then we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right. Thank you, guys. John Shipley, Gus Logue. We'll see you guys next time.